I've been making mandalas for about 10 years. I started after I discovered some online and really liked the look of them and just thought I'd have a go. Now I had a big gap, I had a big break. But recently I've come back to making them. Now 10 years ago I wasn't a professional artist. I was making art in my spare time and I was making all sorts of different types of art. I still am in a way, but these days I've refined it a little bit more. But I find that a work of art still quite often starts with a circle and a fine liner pen. I've gone back to making mandalas these days for exactly the same reason as I was back 10 years ago. I'm not aiming for them to be a final, completed, saleable piece of artwork. I'm doing them for the experience of making them, for the creative process, for the sense of calm that it gives you, and also as a process that can help you learn more about yourself. Sometimes I can come to a mandala, come to my sketchbook with a question, and as I sit and draw, I'm not trying to logically think about the answer to that question, but sometimes it comes anyway through the process of drawing. Drawing mandalas always gives me a real sense of calm and peace, and so it's worth doing just for the experience alone. For this mandala here, I've started with a grid of squares in a circle. I've made a video on how to make that construction, and you'll find that on my channel, if you want to start at the same point as I am. And then I always start a mandala in the centre, make one or two small marks, a couple of shapes to get me started, and then I add to them, and then I repeat them. And as the mandala grows, it gets more complex. I can add more elements to the patterns that I've started, but those first few marks that I laid down set out the pattern for how the rest of the mandala will develop. So for this one, in each bottom half of the square, I'm making a little pattern of petals, sometimes 3, sometimes 5, sometimes 7, as the pattern grows. And then to fill in the square, a more curving petal shape. In the small, it's just an arc, and building up, adding more points and bumps to my lines to get a more complex petal shape towards the end. For the bigger shapes, I use my compasses to create me more guidelines to keep the shapes on track, because the bigger they get, the harder they get to keep in line. If I was really concerned about making this into a final piece of artwork that I might want to exhibit or sell, then I'd probably be doing this in pencil, making sure my lines were smooth and symmetrical and accurate. But there is something I really like about going direct to pen and just going for it. And as I watch this back, sometimes I'm cringing at a line that goes a little bit wobbly or not in the direction that I wanted it to. But when I see the whole thing and I see it all together, I don't notice those little imperfections. I just see it as a whole. With each mandala, once the basic line work is finished, it often looks a little bare and it needs some extra help to make it sing. So thickening some lines, colouring in some areas in black, adding line shading and dots, and maybe even some more decorative elements if I've left any big shapes, really helps it all to come together. So as I finish up this one, I'd like to ask, do you create mandalas? And if you do you resonate with the experience that I've had making them? Would you like to see more tutorials about how to make different shapes and patterns? I do plan to document some more of the mandalas that I make on this channel, and I hope that you'll enjoy them. If there are any particular things that you want to know, or particular experiences that you've had that you'd like to share, then please do leave your questions and comments down below. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.